Greetings. I'm Sophia, 33 years old, and I'd like to share some wisdom with you. Perfection isn't always what it seems. Let me tell you about my experience with Charles, my former husband. Charles was someone I thought would be a constant in my life, someone I could always depend on. However, life has a peculiar way of surprising you when you least expect it. We first crossed paths in college while volunteering for a children's organization during a summer break. Fate seemed to favor our friendship, keeping it alive throughout our college years. After graduation, fortune smiled upon us again as we both secured jobs in the same city. It seemed practical to move in together to save money, and without even planning it, love naturally developed between us. Charles was the first to confess his feelings, and before we knew it, we felt like we were excelling in both our careers and personal lives. Our relationship was so seamless that we introduced each other to our incredibly supportive families. It all felt like a perfect love story. Charles proposed, and soon we were married. I was living what felt like the happiest phase of my life, going to work, returning home to spend quality time with Charles, and enjoying lively weekends with friends. When it was just the two of us, it still felt wonderfully complete. At least, that's what I thought. Then, one day, everything shifted. It began with an unexpected call from my cousin, Natalie. "Hey, Sophia, I know we don't talk often, but that doesn't mean we aren't close," she started, setting a tone that signaled something serious was coming. Natalie then shared that she had tried a blind dating site recommended by a friend. No names, no pictures, just conversations, and if it felt right, they would meet. Excited, I half joked, "You're not engaged, are you? I'd be thrilled for you." But Natalie continued seriously, "Sophia, listen, this is important. I matched with someone and we agreed to meet at a cafe." As she described walking into the cafe and asking the waiter about her blind date, my heart sank with the suspense of her story. She finally revealed, "Sophia, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that guy, it was Charles." This revelation shook the foundation of what I believed was a perfect relationship, reminding me that appearances can be deceiving, and what seems perfect might be far from it. He was there, sitting just as my cousin Natalie described. The moment I recognized his face, I stormed out of the cafe. "Wait, are you absolutely sure it was my Charles?" I asked, disbelief choking my words. Natalie responded confidently, "I'm 1000% sure, Sophia. We've only met a few times, but I still follow you on social media. I'm sorry to be the one telling you this. It must be so confusing." "If this is some kind of cruel joke, Natalie, it's not funny at all. I just can't talk right now. This is ridiculous," I said, ending the call abruptly. Overwhelmed with anger and confusion, I struggled to process the situation. I had always trusted Charles completely, clinging to the hope that there had been some mistake. It was a Saturday and Charles was supposedly out golfing with a friend. My suspicions overwhelmed me, and I did something I never thought I'd do. I snooped around. I started with his laptop, but it was clean, revealing nothing. Undeterred, I turned to his iPad, scouring it for any sign of the blind dating app Natalie mentioned. Nothing, but then, to my dismay, I found Tinder installed. Hesitant yet compelled, I opened the app and discovered conversations with other women, plans to meet, flirtatious exchanges. It was all there. My heart sank as I considered the possibility that he might be with one of those women at that very moment, lying about his golfing trip. My mind raced, imagining the worst scenarios, and guilt washed over me for how I'd reacted to Natalie. She was trying to help, and I had been rude to her. Armed with undeniable proof, I knew I needed to reach out to her again. "Hey, Natalie, I owe you an apology for hanging up earlier. It was just a lot to take in," I said when she answered. "No worries, Sophia. I understand finding out something like this is never easy," she replied sympathetically. "So, did you find anything?" she asked gently. "Not the blind dating app, but I found Tinder on his iPad." The conversations are recent, from just 3 weeks ago. I can't believe this is happening after 6 years together, I confessed, my voice breaking. That's rough, Sophia. Maybe it's time to confront him. When did this blind date of yours happen? Natalie inquired. Just last Saturday, I replied, my voice tinged with hurt and disbelief. He told me he's been single since college. Can you believe it? He made up stories about caring for his sick mother, playing the sympathy card. That's why he said he couldn't meet sooner. Natalie's voice was a mix of outrage and support. Unbelievable. Charles told me he was helping out a friend in trouble that same day. As the reality of the situation sank in, I realized it was time for a difficult conversation with Charles. The truth had to come out, but knowing how to approach it was going to be one of the hardest parts. He drove 3 hours just to see you. I'm sorry you're having to deal with this, Sophia. I hope you make him understand the consequences of his actions. As we talked, I could feel my anger bubbling up. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if he was still with some other girl, pretending he was with his buddy. At that moment, everything I believed in started to crumble, and my insecurities gnawed at me, making me question where I went wrong. Despite my deep love for him, I knew I couldn't let this slide easily. No amount of affection justified staying in a marriage where I felt utterly disrespected. So, before he came back that evening, I made a decisive move. I packed all his belongings into 2 travel bags. My plan was straightforward: confront him, face the truth, and ask him to leave our home. It was time for me to stand up for myself. Charles finally came home late at night, and I was waiting for him by the kitchen counter. What's wrong, honey? Why do you look so furious? And what are these bags for? Are you going somewhere? No, I'm not going anywhere. You are. And enough with the honey and jokes. Can you make me a cup of ginger tea? I mean, you must be extremely tired, I said sarcastically. Tired? Tired of what, Charles? Tired of lying? Going around to see other girls, huh? What do you mean? I confronted him directly. He looked puzzled. You did not tell me you got stood up at a blind date last week. How did you know? Were you spying on me? You're crazy. No, it wasn't me. Turns out the person you were talking to was my cousin, Alana, from the wedding, if you remember her. She saw you and fled the cafe, I revealed, watching his facade crack. No, honey, there must be some misunderstanding. Is Alana sure it was me? Charles stammered, trying to regain his composure. Oh, come on, cut the crap. I've read your conversations on Tinder. How low can you go? Why did you even marry me if this is what you had in mind? I pressed, my voice firm and unwavering. He faltered. I don't have any answers for you. Don't worry, I have all the answers I need now. Take your bags and get out, I said resolutely. Look at you bossing me around like that. You know what? It's a good thing your cousin saw me. Our relationship was getting boring anyway. I've been wanting to leave for a long time. All those other women out there are much better than you. Guess I made a wrong decision by marrying you. And you know what? Screw it. As hurtful as his words were, they only strengthened my resolve. It was clear that ending this marriage was the right decision. I watched as he took his bags and left, finally freeing me from the weight of his deceit. It was a painful yet empowering moment, marking the end of one chapter and the uncertain beginning of another. I wasn't even golfing today. I met a girl who's much more attractive than you. She's vibrant, not drained and weary like you, Charles spat out harshly, his words like daggers. I'm taking the suitcase and leaving. Enough, Charles. This marriage is over and I'm relieved, I replied with a mixture of sorrow and determination. Just like that, my deepest fears were realized. Charles left, and soon after, we were officially divorced. I clung to a sliver of hope that he might apologize, but instead he continued to belittle me, insisting I wasn't good enough. At first, I felt insecure and isolated myself, finding solace only in the melodrama of reality TV shows. I'd return from work, lose myself in television, and often forget to eat. That was my life for a few months. However, things began to change when my parents and friends intervened. They encouraged me, lifting my spirits and urging me to seek therapy. Gradually, I began to heal. I took up yoga, adopted a pet cat, and established a routine that helped distract me from my past trauma. These changes were transformative. After emerging from that dark phase, I felt ready to open my heart again. I began dating, and then I met Kyle at a friend's wedding. Kyle, a charming New Zealand 4 years my junior, caught my eye. Despite our age difference, he possessed a maturity that was lacking in many others I'd met. We started dating, and just 5 months into our relationship, he surprised me by flying us to New Zealand to meet his family. Upon meeting his mother, Doris, and his sister, Judy, I was warmly welcomed. "Sophia, Kyle has told us so much about you. I can't believe how strong you are after everything you've been through," Doris exclaimed. "Mom, Judy, Sophia's faced everything head on." "I admire her strength every day," Kyle added, his voice filled with pride. Judy chimed in, "Seriously, Sophia, I can't imagine going through what you did. You're like a superhero." I laughed softly. "Well, I don't have a cape, but I appreciate the sentiment." It was tough, but meeting Kyle has been a silver lining. He's helped me change the way I feel about myself. "You're like a breath of fresh air, Sophia. We're lucky to have you here," Judy continued, making me feel even more accepted. The conversation turned lighthearted when Doris recounted, one time Kyle tried to impress a girl by learning salsa dancing and ended up stepping on her toes the entire time. "That's hilarious. I hope he's improved his dance moves since then," I joked. "Doubtful, but it keeps family gatherings entertaining. We have dinner at our uncle's tomorrow. You should come and meet the rest of the family." "Yeah, you should." They all agreed enthusiastically. The warmth and acceptance of Kyle's family enveloped me, making me feel at home and cherished. It was clear I had found a new beginning, and this time it was filled with genuine love and laughter. Some might think I'm moving at warp speed, jetting off to New Zealand with Kyle and now getting to know his entire family, but life with Charles taught me important lessons. I knew Charles for a long time, and yet that relationship ended in betrayal and heartbreak. With Kyle, I decided to trust my instincts and embrace the new. Kyle came into my life and quickly provided the kind of love and security that Charles never did. It felt like the upgrade I desperately needed. His family welcomed me with open arms, giving off warm, comforting vibes that made me feel at home. After about a year of wonderfully steady and loving relationship with Kyle, he surprised me yet again. He whisked me away to where our story first started. But this wasn't just any dinner date. Kyle had gone all out, booking a private table at the very hotel where my friend's wedding had taken place. The same wedding where we met. As we sat down to dinner, I sensed something big was about to unfold. "Sophia, we've been together for a year now, and honestly, what we have feels so real. My family adores you, and I love you more than I can express," Kyle began, his voice filled with emotion. "I know you've had a tough time in the past with your ex, the cheating, the insecurities that followed. I'm not trying to rush things, and I know a year might seem quick to some, but I have this ring here. I'd love for you to be by my side for the rest of our lives. You don't have to answer right away, and even if you do, we don't have to rush to the altar. Take all the time you need, but I just want you to be mine." Tears of joy welled up in my eyes. "Oh my God, Kyle, yes. Let's take it one step at a time. That sounds perfect," I responded, overwhelmed with happiness. "And you know, my mom is already talking about grandkids," he joked, lightening the mood. "I know, babe," I laughed along. "Like you said, one step at a time." So there we were, Kyle and I, newly engaged and taking things slow. We decided against rushing into wedding planning madness. Instead, we chose to savor our engagement, enjoying life just as it was. The only notable change was how deeply our lives were intertwining, growing together in love and understanding day by day. I had moved into Kyle's place and everything was going well until life decided to throw me an unexpected twist. I was at my favorite bakery, the one I've been visiting for years, picking up our usual order of special cronuts when I unexpectedly ran into Charles. My eyes widened in surprise upon seeing him, and he looked just as taken aback. However, he wasn't alone. He was accompanied by a woman. "Oh, hey, Sophia, what a surprise. It's been a while," Charles greeted me. "Yeah, it has." "Hi, Charles. And who might this be?" I asked, turning to the woman with him. "Meet my girlfriend, Anna." "Hey there, you're Sophia, right?" she said, extending her hand. "Yep, that's me, Charles's long-lost friend," I replied with a slight smile. "Well, you guys catch up. I was just heading out. So, Anna, huh?" I continued as she nodded. "Yeah, she's great. Owns her own little business that's picking up. She's a beauty with brains," Charles explained. "And you, anyone special?" he asked, his tone casual but curious. "Oh yes, I've been seeing someone seriously. We're engaged, actually," I shared, feeling a mix of pride and awkwardness. "Well, good for you, Sophia. I just wanted to say I'm sorry about how—" "Let's not go there, Charles. It's all in the past now. Anna seems wonderful," I quickly interjected, signaling I wasn't interested in rehashing old wounds. "Oh, she is. I thought I'd introduce her to those cronuts. You got me hooked on this place. It's a hidden gem." "It sure is. Well, I need to get going. Goodbye." "By the way, do you want to catch up sometime?" Charles offered. "I don't think so, Charles," I replied firmly, ready to leave the past behind. There I was, minding my own business, trying not to dwell on the awkward encounter with Charles. Living in the same city, I figured it was only a matter of time before we crossed paths. But that encounter paled in comparison to the shock I experienced 2 weeks later when my body started feeling strange, prompting me to take a pregnancy test. To my amazement and joy, it was positive. I was going to be a mom. Kyle was ecstatic when I told him about our little one on the way. We shared our happiness with our families, whose excitement seemed even greater than ours. But amidst all the joy, there was one thing missing: a wedding. Being already engaged, Kyle and I thought, why not tie the knot? We decided to wait another 5 months, allowing me to flaunt my perfect baby bump in my dream wedding dress. The next 4 months were a whirlwind of doctor's appointments and meetings with the wedding planner. It was a lot to handle, but Kyle and I were determined to make it work. We envisioned an intimate celebration with our closest loved ones. The guest list was short, and my baby bump was undoubtedly the star of the show. I wanted everyone to see how proud and happy I was. The day before my wedding, I stayed at my parents' house. We decided not to have a rehearsal dinner, but it was still a big and emotional evening, spent reminiscing and looking forward to the future with Mom and the rest of the family. On the eve of my wedding, I received an unexpected call from Judy, who was staying at our place with Kyle and Doris. "Hey, Sophia, everything okay over there?" I asked, sensing the unusual tone in her voice. "Yeah, pretty much everything's fine. I'm just a bit confused. Kyle and Mom went out to pick up some last-minute essentials and I'm here alone. A guy came by with some cronuts asking for you," Judy explained, sounding puzzled. "Did you get his name? Who was it?" I inquired, a hint of concern creeping into my voice. "No, I didn't catch his name. He didn't seem like one of your close friends because he looked shocked when I mentioned the wedding," she replied. "It must be some old acquaintance, I guess. Did you tell him I was getting married?" I asked, trying to piece together who it might have been. "Yeah, he seemed curious, asking about your whereabouts and who I was. I told him I'm your fiancé's sister and that there's a wedding tomorrow. Thinking about it now, I feel silly for giving out all that information without even asking his name," Judy admitted with a slight chuckle. "Don't worry about it, Judy. I think I know who it was. Probably Charles. Just stay safe until Doris and Kyle get back," I reassured her, though a part of me was unsettled by the idea of Charles showing up like that. I was puzzled about how Charles had gotten Kyle's address. It seemed unlikely that he had been following me. After all, he was with Anna now. Maybe he had seen me around the apartment complex and figured out where I lived. After the last time we spoke, when I firmly said no to catching up, maybe he thought to try his luck again. But it didn't quite add up. However, it was my wedding day the next morning, and I didn't want to dwell on these distractions. Charles wasn't a threat, just a part of my past I'd moved beyond. So, I focused on the excitement of the day, following the doctor's advice not to stress over the small things. The wedding was set for the afternoon, so I started getting ready early in the morning, amidst the joyful chaos at the venue. I was in the hotel suite I had booked for me and my bridesmaids, all of us buzzing with anticipation. Finally, it was time for the ceremony. The music began, and my father started walking me down the aisle. Kyle was waiting for me at the altar, and all our loved ones were there, their faces beaming with joy. Just as I took my fourth step down the aisle, a voice interrupted the music. "Hey, Sophia!" I turned, and there was Charles, causing a stir among the guests. "I need to borrow you for a minute," he called out assertively. "Charles, you are making a fool of yourself. Just leave," I responded firmly, my voice echoing slightly in the hushed venue. "I'm not going until you talk to me," he insisted, his presence casting a shadow over my special day. However, I was determined not to let this unexpected encounter disrupt the joy and love that surrounded me. I met Kyle's gaze from across the room as he stood at the altar, and with a supportive nod, he gave me the courage to handle the situation. "Everyone, please give us 10 minutes, I announced calmly before taking Charles by the elbow and leading him to a secluded spot. "Charles, are you serious right now?" I confronted him, my voice low but firm. "I was walking down the aisle at my wedding, and you chose that moment to interrupt. What are you thinking?" "Sophia, please hear me out. I've made a huge mistake, and I need to talk to you," Charles pleaded, his voice desperate. "Talk? On my wedding day? This is unbelievably disrespectful to Kyle and everyone here," I retorted, incredulous at his timing. "I saw you the other day going to our old favorite bakery. Listen, there's no Anna. I paid a girl $60 to pretend to be my girlfriend, to make you feel jealous. I wanted to talk to you before it was too late," he admitted shamefully. "Charles, are you kidding? You paid someone to make me jealous? This is like something out of a terrible teen movie," I scoffed, my anger rising. "Sophia, I've made mistakes. I thought I could find something better, but I was wrong," he continued, his eyes pleading. "Spare me the details," I snapped. "Just listen, I know I messed up. I tried to move on and even got into another relationship. I proposed, but she confessed she was already married. I was heartbroken. It's brutal out there. No one can love me the way you did. Do you even hear yourself? You want me back because no one else will give you the attention I did? Trust me, we can make this work. I will love this baby as my own," he added hastily. "Charles, you're a fool to think I'd leave my loving fiancé for a cheater like you. This is karma. You're getting back what you put out into the universe. It's not my fault you ended up heartbroken. And now you're here, ruining my special day just for a bit of attention. I'm sad for you. We've known each other a long time, and I did love you, but you better save your love for someone else. Now get out before I call the cops." "You've already created a huge scene," I said resolutely, my patience wearing thin. I was upset that Charles had hijacked this special moment, but there was also a part of me that felt a sense of satisfaction, like karma was indeed doing its work. Returning to the wedding, I reassured everyone that it was just a minor misunderstanding. Finally, I walked down the aisle once more, reaching Kyle, who was waiting with open arms. We exchanged our vows, the incident with Charles now just a small shadow on a day filled with much greater light. We were surrounded by love, and that was all that truly mattered in the end. After the unexpected drama, the wedding reception turned out to be phenomenal. It was as if the earlier disruption had never happened. Surrounded by our closest family and friends, The evening was filled with laughter, music, and dancing, a true celebration of love. During the reception, Kyle gave a heartfelt speech that captured everyone's attention. Today has been nothing short of magical. Just look at my radiant bride, Sophia. From the moment I met her, I knew she was extraordinary. She's not just my ride or die, she's the whole playlist to the soundtrack of my life. Her laugh is my favorite melody, and her smile, it's the sunshine that brightens my entire world. Sophia, you are the missing puzzle piece that completes this complex game of life for me. I'm so grateful to have you as my partner in crime. I promise to always have your back through all the highs, the lows, and the inevitable plot twists. Your kindness, your strength, and your love make my heart do a happy dance every single day. So, here's to us, to our love story, and to all the epic moments that await us. And now, I'm excited to share a little life update. We are just a week away from welcoming our little girl into the world. My journey might not be the wildest drama you've heard, but it's uniquely mine, and perhaps it resonates with some of you, especially those who have navigated the turbulent waters of infidelity. Here's what I've learned. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living your best life, focusing on being the best version of yourself. Life has a way of working things out, and what's meant to be will always find its way. I thought Charles was my forever, and when that crumbled, I was devastated. But then life surprised me with Kyle, the unexpected upgrade I never knew I needed. So, if you're experiencing a tough time, remember that brighter days are just on the horizon. Keep shining, keep pushing forward, and know that sometimes life's greatest gifts come wrapped in the most unexpected packages.